Good morning, students. Today we're going to see about some of the security aspects that we discussed last class, the various security dimensions of e-commerce security environment, and we're going to see in detail some of the security threats that can come in the way when you have an e-commerce transaction happening. Okay, so before that, we will see this topic, that is issues between security and other values. That is, whenever we are going to have security measures getting enforced, there are certain things that often go compromised, that is, getting compromised on the way of enforcing security. Okay, so more and more we make systems secure. As in when the security measures become very tight, we lose certain values. Okay, certain values that normal customer expect, those values are just automatically getting compromised when security becomes very tight. Okay, so when we have, say for example, if a website has got several security checks that is happening, then you will find very difficult to get into the website and the ease of use will be less. Okay, so the more tight security becomes, security aspects or security checking becomes very tight, then you will be automatically losing certain values. So that is the relevance of this particular topic, that is we are going to have what are the compromises that we normally automatically will be losing as and when security becomes more and more tight. Okay, so computer security will be, see whenever we want to have security measures adopted, there is an extra overhead, extra expenditure that is incurred by the organization in order to implement security. Okay, so computer security often is an overhead, an expense to business operations, and also gives criminals new opportunities to hide their intentions and their crimes. Nowadays we have seen, as and when security becomes more and more tight, criminals will be thinking more and more, and they will be learning how to hide themselves and penetrate into systems. So they'll be having their own methods, their own strategies also becomes more and more well versed, or they think more about how to tackle those security measures. Okay, so more and more technology becomes advanced, that much advanced criminal intentions also will be becoming. Okay, so the first one is ease of use. So the more you make your security measures tight, you will be losing this basic value of ease of use. That is how user friendly a website was. More I do security checks on that before I can grant entry for an ordinary user into my website, then the user will feel some sort of a discomfort. The ease of use or user friendliness will be getting lost. Okay, so the more security measures added to an e-commerce site, the more difficult is it to use and slower the site becomes. It becomes slow because you've got multiple checks, security checks happening before the actual utility that is provided by the site can be enjoyed by the normal customer. Okay, so in order for the customer to make an entry into the website, he has to go through n number of security checks. If that is the case, then the customer will be losing the ease of use or user friendliness, and he won't be liking to enter into the site again. So more security, less ease of use. So security costs money, and too much of it can reduce profitability, while not enough security potentially can put you out of business. So you need to have security, but there is an extent to which you can provide security checks. Okay, more security you provide, you will be incurring more expenditure, and lesser you will earn profit because you are getting more expense will be more, and the income that you generate will become less, so you will be having less profit. Then also, that is one aspect. Second, on the other side of the coin, if you are not enforcing that much of a security, then you will be at a potential risk. So you require security, but the extent to which you require is basically depending upon the type of business you're going to run, the type of site that you're going to have. Okay, so you need to have security measures, but these measures need to be enforced to a particular extent so that the business won't incur an extra overhead, the expenditure will be kept to a low minimum, and also the potential customer may not be finding it very difficult to enter into the website because of these security checks, And so also on the other side of the coin, you should have enough of security as well. Okay. Public safety and criminal uses of internet. Now we have seen these cases reporting. Normally we have in newspapers, we have seen criminal aspects. There is a criminal side of internet used for the positive side of internet, and nowadays we have seen many of the negative sides of internet. Social media and all, we have seen every day. We can see newspapers about the negative effects of internet and social media. Okay, so that is happening regularly and reported by the newspapers regularly. So there is an inevitable tension between the desires of individuals to act anonymously and the needs of public officials to maintain public safety that can be threatened by criminals or terrorists. That is, we have to have certain details to be disclosed as a part of security checking. That is normal. Okay, so whenever there is a need to have security checks or your identity to be verified before you enter into an e-commerce website. Okay, so you need to have some of your personal credentials or personal information to be shared. But normally we as ordinary people won't be liking that much of a personal information to be shared. We will be actually interested to share only a part of our personal information. Too much of personal information to be shared we never like. Okay, so we won't be liking to have that much of personal information to be shared, but some sort of security aspects enforced will require personal information to be given as and when they are asked for. Okay, so this will actually create difficulty in the minds of ordinary consumers, because you are asked for too much of your personal information. So you cannot actually keep your identity as a secret. You cannot actually keep your data confidential when you want to have an entry into certain type of websites. So that is a sort of discomfort for ordinary consumers. The internet was used to plan and coordinate attacks on World Trade Center, you all know, on September 11, 2001. So this is internet is now a platform for many criminal activities that is going on. Okay, social media, another main platform wherein whatever things that it was normally initially designed for, it is not actually used for that particular purpose. The positive side of all these is not getting used that much when we compare with the negative side of that, that is nowadays getting used by most of the criminals. Okay, so the positivity is getting lost. Positivity of internet and positivity of social media is now getting lost, because people are criminals, or those people with a criminal intent are mostly enjoying the negative side. They are actually exploiting the other side of other side of internet and social media. So they're going to have the positivity getting lost nowadays. Okay, so the use of technology by criminals to plan or threaten nationwide. So technology has got positive side. It was actually designed for the positive aspect, but nowadays technology is used for all these unwanted things. Okay, criminal aspects, for all this planning criminal things. That is for any particular activity they're using internet to plan about. Okay, so similar, they have quoted an example, the attack on World Trade Center, it was planned through the internet. So internet and social media is now getting misused more and more. Okay, now we are going to see the security threats in e-commerce environment. So in e-security, we are discussing about the different aspects of e-security. Now we are moving on to different types, examples of threats that can normally come in your way, the common threats that can come in an e-commerce environment. Okay, so there are 3 points of vulnerability in e-commerce environment. What is vulnerability? The areas which are prone to attack. Okay, which are all the different areas through which attack can come into an e-commerce environment. So one is from the client side. Client side is always prone to attacks. So it is a vulnerable point in an e-commerce environment. Second is server. Your server is going to be a point of attack. Then third is the actual communication pipeline or the communication channel, basically the internet. Okay, so we have 3 points of vulnerability or 3 points through which attack can come to an e-commerce environment. One is client side, attacks can come through client side, attack can come from the server side, attack can come through the channel, communication channel. So these are the 3 points of vulnerability in an e-commerce environment through which you can expect maximum attacks to come. So this is a typical e-commerce transaction, and the next slide will show you the different points from wherein we can have attacks come. Okay, so when a typical e-commerce transaction happen, where are the different points of vulnerability through which attacks can happen? Okay, so here we have a normal e-commerce transaction happening. So we have a consumer, an online consumer. So he's going to have the catalog, is going to have a catalog of the products that is displayed on an e-commerce merchant's website, and he is going to have a look at the products, and he is going to make an order of the desired products that he add to the cart, and is going to have a credit card payment or a debit card payment. A bank transaction is going to happen, and after the transaction the particular product is going to be shipped to the consumer. So we have the normal consumer. He is actually using the internet service provider, that is, he's having a internet connectivity through which he is going to connect with the merchant's website, and on the merchant's website or online store we have a database server from wherein the details of the products are getting displayed on the website. And after the consumer goes through the list of products displayed, and he wants to add all those products that he wants into the cart, and after products of his choice have been added to the cart, he moves to the payment. Now if he's using a credit, debit or a normal bank transaction, he'll be having a credit card with him, and that will be issued by a particular bank. So that is consumer credit card bank, and we'll be having another bank wherein the merchant has got account into, so the amount has to be credited to the merchant's bank. So we have the consumer credit card bank has to communicate and authenticate to the merchant's bank. So a communication has to happen, a type of authentication service has to be done between the merchant's bank and the consumer's bank. Now once authentication and all those account details have been checked, and sufficient amount of money is found in the consumer's credit card account, then what happens? Then the money getting transferred to merchant's account. So once a successful financial transaction is going to happen, you have the products taken from the warehouse, it's going to be shipped, and ultimately it reaches the consumer. So this is the normal chain through which a normal e-commerce transaction and e-shopping happens. Okay, so after products have been ordered, we have the financial transaction part happening, wherein we have a communication between the merchant's bank and the consumer's bank happening. Upon a successful financial transaction taking place, you have the products getting shipped from the warehouse to the consumer. Okay, so this is a normal e-commerce transaction and e-shopping transaction. Now we'll see where are the different points from wherein attack can come when such a transaction is going on. Okay, so we're going to see the different points of vulnerability in a typical e-commerce transaction. So these are the vulnerable points here. So we have initially from the online consumer, when he surfing through the products that is displayed on the merchant's website, you can have web beacons. Web beacons is a type of attack that can come from the consumer side. Maybe he may be directed to a different website. Okay, sniffing, spoofing, all those things can happen. Web beacon can attach itself to your browser and take up your it can record your activities on the net. It is a sort of analytics. It can study your browsing behavior. It can study your shopping habits. So it is like a cookie. Okay, it's a small piece of application. It's a small icon that gets attached to your web browser, and it will be learning your your order of visits, your mouse clicks even getting recorded, which are the different sites you visit, your surfing, shopping practices, all your actions on the internet getting recorded by a web beacon. then it can study you, and then it can plan accordingly how to attack you. What are the different transactions you normally do, and what the attacker can do in order to take away your things or your credentials. Okay, so whatever type of attack they can plan accordingly after recording your actions on the net. Okay, so recording whatever things you do, your activities are getting recorded by Webbeacon. So it's a small icon that gets attached to the web browser and records all your activities. Okay, so that is a Webbeacon. That is one type of attack that can happen from the side of the happen at the side of the online consumer. Now coming to the merchants bank. Okay, merchants bank, we can have DDO, that is denial of service attack, can happen, wherein the merchant is from the consumer's bank. We can have denial of service happening, that is when the consumer is requesting for an authentication, that is he is providing its credit card number and all, then he need to have proper authentication done, and he required the payment to be initiated. But when this is not happening, it can be called as a denial of service attack. So denial of service attack can happen at the consumer's bank when the transaction is getting initiated by the consumer. Similar, when the online store is displaying its catalog, we can hack all these details of the catalog. Okay, so attacker can hack the details which are displayed, the details of the products which are displayed on the particular website of the merchant. Okay, so the products, the online list of the catalog can be hacked. That is one point. So whenever when the merchant's website is displaying products that is taken from the database maintained by the database server maintained by the merchant's website, then these catalog can be taken up. The details of the catalog can be hacked. So that is another point of vulnerability at the merchant's website. From the merchant's website, we can have an attack happening. Okay, then we have next is the database part. The database server that maintains the details of the products that the merchant has in his that is the merchant has to sell through his e-commerce website. There also we can have an SQL injection. We can have an SQL injection attack. Okay, an SQL injection attack, we'll learn what is an SQL injection attack in the coming slides. So there we can have through SQL we can have a certain type of queries that can be given, and we can do attacks on database server, which actually holds the details of products that the merchant has to sell through his website. So the list of products, we can actually carry out an SQL injection attack on the database server. Then we can have security breaches happening. Whenever a financial transaction is happening, there can be a chance of security breaches. Okay, so your personal credentials can be taken up. Whenever you disclose your credit card number, that can be taken away by an attacker. Okay, so whenever there is any financial transaction happening, there can be security breaches. So that is another. So these are certain points of attacks that can happen in a typical e-commerce transaction. So first, at the part of online customer, when he tries to make orders, we can have web beacons getting attached to record the activities of the normal consumer. Then upon the online merchants catalog or the website can be hacked, and the details of the products can be taken up. Even the database server that maintains the details of products can be attacked by SQL injection attack. When the consumer is trying to have a financial transaction to be done, then we can have a denial of service that makes the transaction impossible. Then also any financial transactions that is in transit or that is happening, about to happen, or in between a financial transaction, we can expect security breaches which can take away your personal credentials. So these are all the common points of attack in a typical e-commerce environment. Now we're going to see the most common security threats in e-commerce environment. Which are the most common security threats that can come in your way when you do e-commerce transactions, the most common ones. Okay, there are a lot of threats that we nowadays have when we do e-commerce transactions, but these are the most common ones that we can expect. Okay, so these are malicious code, unwanted programs, phishing and identity theft, hacking and cyber vandalism, credit card fraud or theft, spoofing and spam websites, denial of service and distributed denial of service DDoS attacks, sniffing, insider attacks, poorly designed server and client software. Okay, so these are the most common threats that you can have in your way when you do an e-commerce transaction. Now, the first one, malicious code, otherwise called malware. So you know all these, you would have heard of all these. Okay, many of these threats will be known to you, you would have heard of. Now, malicious code includes variety of threats such as viruses. These are worms, trojans or bots that gets attached to your applications. So this their intent, the main motive of a malicious software or malicious code will be to take away your email addresses, your login credentials, personal data, financial information like your credit card numbers, account numbers, all these things. Okay, so these are certain code which get attached to your applications and it take away your valuable information. So drive-by downloads malware comes with a downloaded file with the user intentionally or unintentionally requested. So drive-by downloads is another type of malware which is coming to you whenever you download certain files. Okay, it is coming along with your download. Automatically it comes, intentionally or unintentionally it gets into your system and then takes away all your, thereafter whatever actions you normally do, it will be recording all those, it will be taking up the details of all those transactions that happen thereafter. Okay, so it is coming to you through downloaded files, along with your downloaded files. That is drive-by download malware. Now, what is virus? The different types of malware includes viruses, worms, trojans and bots. So we're going to see all those 4 categories. So virus, as we all know, it is a computer program that has got the ability to replicate a number of copies. You have one virus affected file, you access it, whenever you put it onto another media, it covers, it replicates itself. Okay, so it has the ability to replicate or make copies itself and spread to other files. So in addition to the ability to replicate, most computer viruses deliver a payload. Okay, it's an extra payload, generates an extra payload. The payload may not be relatively harmful, such as display of a message or image, or it may be highly destructive, like destroying files, reformatting the computer's hard drives, or causing programs to run improperly. So it will be generating certain ill effects, that is the payload part. So it will be replicating, it will be attaching to all the files one by one. It gets attached to almost all the files that you normally access. Once it is virus infected, your system is virus infected, it can actually travel from one file to other and it can destroy your hardware even. So it generates different types of payloads. Sometimes it will be generating certain images, or it will be displaying certain files which contain certain garbage values. So likewise it will be destroying your system ultimately. Okay, so that is a virus. So it can fall into different categories. Viruses can fall into different categories. One is a macro virus, second is file infecting virus, and script virus. So as the name indicates, macro viruses are very small, application specific, meaning that the virus affects only that particular application for which it was written, such as Word, Excel or PowerPoint. So it's macro in sense it will be infecting only specific applications. Okay, it attacks itself only to specific applications. Okay, so whenever we have a macro virus, it will be intended to attack. It will be written in such a way that it has got specific applications in which it can attack and enter into. Now, file infecting viruses normally affects files. That is, it will be affecting files such as .com files, .exes, .drvs and DLL. So it will be infecting these category of files: exe files, your com files, your DRV and DLLs. Okay, so these are getting infected by file infecting viruses. And then the next third is script viruses. As the name indicates, it will be attacking only script files. So all those scripting programs that you write in JavaScript, VB script, all those script files are getting attacked by script viruses. So we have three types of viruses. One is macro, which is application specific. Then file infecting viruses, which are file specific, and script viruses, which are script specific. So depending upon to which application the virus is written, whether a specific application becomes a macro virus, whether it is affecting certain category of files, it is a file infecting virus, whether it is infecting script files, all the scripts that you write, those viruses are called as script viruses. Okay, so these are the categories of viruses. Viruses are often combined with a worm. Okay, so we have worm as the other category. So virus can normally combine itself with a worm. So virus infect a single computer, whereas worm is something that it moves, right? Worm is something that moves from one place to another. It never sits idle. A worm, something which is natural worm when you think about it, moves. So likewise propagates. A worm has got the capability to propagate from one computer system to another. Okay, perhaps to millions. So worm has got high propagation power. It propagates from computers to computers. So worms spread from computer to computer without any human intervention. Trojan horses, another category is Trojan horse. It is normally won't be seen. We won't feel Trojan is there in your system initially, but later it tries to harm you later. So it does something other than expected at a later time. Trojan is not itself a virus because it does not replicate. Trojan doesn't replicate like ordinary virus, but it's often a way for viruses or other malicious code to be introduced into the computer system, and it causes threat both at the client level and the security level. So it normally go unnoticed initially, and later it comes with a total destruction of your system. So it can give a way for viruses to come in, worms to come in, malicious code to enter. So it is a door to all these things. Okay, it will be allowing all these things to come, and ultimately your system will be at a very high risk. And it can happen, this particular attack of Trojan can happen at both the windows, that is at the client side. The attack can also come through server side. Now bots, you're familiar with these things. Bots, shortcut for robots. So these are malicious code that can covertly installed on a computer when attached to the internet. So whenever we download something from the internet, automatically it comes. Okay, so once installed, the bot responds to external commands sent by the hacker. So bot, once it's entering into your system, it will be responding to all the actions that the attacker is planning to do on your system. So it will be responding to all those external commands which are issued by the hacker. So hacker has got an intention whereby the bot is getting directed to your computer system, and once it enters your system, it can respond to all actions of the hacker. Botnets are a collection of bot computers used to send spam, DDoS attacks, steal information from computers, and store network traffic for later analysis. So we can have all those computers which are bot affected. They can be combined to form a network called as botnet. Okay, you have bots installed in one computer, you have bots on another. So you may have different bot affected computers. They can form a network for different types of attacks getting planned. Like we can have DDoS attacks planned. You can use you can send spams to these bot affected computers, and you can steal information with the help of bots on these computers. You can steal information that is stored on those computers, and also you can analyze the network traffic from these computers. What are the different types of data that is getting sent? What is the basic action that the consumer is doing on that particular computer? So the network analysis can also be done with the help of network of computers which are bot infected. So that is a botnet. A botnet is a collection of computers which are bot infected, and we can use these botnets to plan different types of attacks. Okay, so we have seen certain common malicious code. We have viruses, worms, the Trojans, bots, and botnets. Now we learn about potentially unwanted programs, or PUPs. Okay, potentially unwanted programs or PUPs. So e-commerce security environment is further challenged by unwanted programs such as adware, browser parasites, spyware, and other applications that install themselves on a computer, typically without users' consent. So these are unwanted programs that we don't require, and these actually enter our system without the users knowing, without the user doing anything. It gets attached or comes into the user's computer without the user's consent. So adware is one variety. Adware is a typically used for pop-up ads to display when the user visits certain ads. Okay, user is visiting certain sites, you have certain pop-up ads coming. These are not actually asked by the user is not asking for that particular product. So why the ad is coming in his way? He's visiting a site and is having this pop-up ads disturbing him. He's not actually demanding for all those products. He don't want those products which are displayed in the ad, but these ads are disturbing. Okay, so that is adware. It's typically used to call for pop-up ads to display when the user is visiting certain sites. Then browser parasite, another one, is a program that can monitor and change the settings of the user's browser. So this is one type of a parasite that can disturb the settings, normal settings of the user's browser without the user's consent, without the users knowing. Okay, so that is a browser parasite which attacks the browser and changes the default settings of your browser. Then we have the spyware. Next is spyware. It's a program that is used to obtain information about users' keystroke, email, instant messages, and even take screenshots and thereby capture passwords or confidential data. So you have similar to what to say, we have learned before, similar to a beacon. It also attaches itself and it attaches itself to the user's web browser, and it will be taking up recording all the users keystrokes, the different actions the user is performing, and it can take away the email addresses and personal credentials and steal confidential information from the user. So that is a spyware. It acts as a spy. Okay, it will be hiding as a secret. It will be residing in the user's computer, and it will be recording all transactions and actions, even keystrokes. You can take screenshots. So all these things will be taken, and through all these things, he will be the particular program will be taking up your confidential data. Okay, so it can record your keystrokes, it can take screenshots of certain transactions that you are doing normally, and it can take away your personal information. Then phishing and identity theft. Next is phishing and identity theft. So phishing is this is the basic definition for phishing. Phishing is any deceptive or misleading online attempt by a third party to obtain confidential information for financial gain. So it is any misleading activity or attempt that is done by a third party to take away financial, that is your personal credentials, confidential information in order to attain financial gain. Okay, phishing attacks do not involve malicious code but instead rely on straightforward misrepresentation. That is, a person who is actually engaged in phishing attack, he will be representing himself as a valid person, and he will be taking your personal credentials, asking for your personal credentials, and will be taking away all those confidential data for financial benefits. So which relies on human curiosity. So this is the basic way in which a phisher attacks. A person with a phishing attempt will be taking up advantage on your curiosity, greed, then gullibility to trick users into taking action that results in downloading malware. So email scams, certain scam mails that you have. Okay, so the scam mails will be asking you to download all these. You will be trying to download. Once you download, your personal credentials are lost, because all these phishing attempt, so that when you have these emails you open it, then the moment you open, everything you do afterwards will be lost. So phishers use the information they gathered to commit fraudulent acts such as charging items at your credit cards, withdrawing funds from your bank account, and in other ways steal your identity. So phishing attacks are one of the fastest growing forms of e-commerce crime. Okay, so phishing is basically a misrepresentation. He will behave as the person who's engaged in a phishing attack will behave as a genuine entity. Will ask for all those personal information. Once you have all those things shared, your account details as well as your credit card numbers, everything, all your fund is getting lost. So you can have certain emails coming, scam mails coming your way. When you open it, you are in a phishing attack. So once a phishing attack is happening, all your personal credentials are getting got by the person or the attacker, and thereby they will be gaining financial gain. Your money will be taken, your account number, once it's got, your money is gone. So likewise, when your credit card number is gone, you will be having a number of purchases made by the attacker which is not known to you. Okay, so likewise, a lot of attacks can happen through phishing, and the main motive behind an attacker who is engaged in this activity is to attain financial gain. Okay, then we have hacking and cyber vandalism. Hacking and cyber vandalism. Now, who is a hacker? A hacker is an individual who is actually trying to get unauthorized access into your computer system with a criminal intent. Okay, so hacking has got different intentions. Okay, so we normally hear the word hacking and ethical hacking. Okay, there is another type of hacking which is ethical hacking. In sense, ethical hackers normally try to prove that your security system is not up to the mark. They will try to find out the different points of vulnerability that is still existing in your system. How well your security system is designed. Is there any particular disadvantage still? Is there any point of vulnerability still existing after you have implemented a security system? So that is basically ethical hacking. They try to hack your system in order to check for the effectiveness of the security measure that you've adopted, or security system that you have adopted, security mechanism that you've adopted in your system. ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു ഓർഗനൈസേഷനിൽ അവർ ഇംപ്ലിമെൻ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന സെക്യൂരിറ്റി മെക്കാനിസം എത്രത്തോളം എഫക്റ്റീവ് ആണെന്ന് ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒന്ന് ഹാക്ക് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കുക. If the hacker is able to ethical hacker is able to penetrate into the system, it means that your security system is weak. Okay, so that is ethical hacking, no criminal motive behind that. Now, hacker is any person who's actually wishing to have, hacker is any person who actually penetrates into your system. He doesn't have any authorization to enter into your system. He's an unauthorized person totally and is entering into your system. Okay, so that is a hacker. Now, within hacking community, the term cracker is used to describe a person with a criminal intent. So, out of the hackers, those hackers who have got criminal intent, those people who are not ethical will be crackers, will be ordinary. Hacker is a person who doesn't have a criminal intent, and a hacker with a criminal intent who is not ethical can be called as a cracker. Okay, so cracker is a person or a hacker with a criminal intent. A person who doesn't have a hacker who doesn't have a criminal intent can be an ethical hacker. Okay, so we can have two types of hacking: ethical hacking, where the hacker can be called as an ethical hacker, and a hacker with a criminal intent can be called as a cracker. Now, cyber vandalism is intentionally disrupting, defacing, or even destroying the site. So, cyber vandalism is unauthorized penetration into a site and thereby destroying the entire site, or changing the details that is displayed on the particular site. So, attacking a site without any access, an unauthorized person entering into a site, disturbing your site altogether, changing the contents of the site, destroying the site altogether can be called as cyber vandalism. Okay, so we've learned what is hacking and what is cyber vandalism. Now we'll stop with this. We have three types of hacker categories. Okay, three types of hacker categories. So group of hackers are normally called as tiger teams. Okay, a group of hackers can be called as tiger teams, and it's used by corporate security departments to test their own security measures. This type of ethical hacking, wherein we engage a group of hackers called tiger hackers. These are appointed by organizations in order to test the effectiveness of their security system. If the tiger teams are able to penetrate in the system, then means that your security system is still weak. so that you can improvise. You can improve your security still further. So by hiring hackers to break into the system from outside, the company can identify the weakness of the security system. Now we can have three types of hackers. One is white hats, second is black hats, and the third is grey hats. So we'll see who are all these. So we can have white hats, also known as good hackers, okay, helping the organizations to locate and fix security flaws. So white hats are ethical hackers who are actually employed by the organization to check for the effectiveness of the security system currently used by the organization. If the white hat hacker is able to penetrate in the system, it means that your security system has got flaws. Okay, it need to be improvised. Now, black hats are those hackers who engage in some kind of activities without pay from targeted organization and with the intent of causing harm. So, these are people who are not actually employed by any organization to check for any effectiveness of the security system. These are people who penetrate in your system with some criminal intent, a cracker actually. Okay, that is a hacker with a black hat. Okay, black hats. So, those are hackers with criminal intent. Now, grey hat discover weakness in the system security and then publish the weakness without disturbing the site, disrupting the site, or attempting to make profit from their finds. So grey hats go in between these two. These are not appointed by anybody. These people find out the weaknesses of your security system and then report it without any financial gain. Okay, so they do not actually disrupt the site as well, and they do not attempt to make profit from their findings. So these are people who find out the flaws, not appointed by anybody, and they report the findings without any financial motive. So these are grey hats. So we have white hat, which is typically employed by organizations, the ethical hackers. These are appointed by organizations to test the effectiveness of the security system. And black hats are crackers with the criminal intent. They actually penetrate in system for financial gain, attack the entire site, and they make financial gains. They have criminal intent. So those are crackers. Then grey hats are people who are not appointed by any organization. They try to find the weaknesses of your security system and they report it without any financial motive. Okay, so we'll stop with and we'll continue in the next class, and thank you for your patient listening.